Welcome, everybody. Today's webinar is titled The ABCs of Strong Discussion Posts. I am the Writing Center Director, Julie Johnson Archer, and I'm joined by Christy Apostle.
Hey, everybody. Thanks, Julie. There are a few learning objectives for this webinar, 3 in fact. Number 1, this webinar will cover learning the ABCs of a good discussion post. Number 2, we'll also talk about what inspires, encourages, and empowers someone to respond. And finally, number 3, you'll be learning about applying these principles to an example discussion post for the BCMO 311 Week 4 discussion question 1. Okay, when you know it's time to write a discussion post, there may seem to be an elephant in the room. You may feel like you really don't want to write another discussion post. Well, there are useful strategies for overcoming this feeling. In short, why care? For example, learning happens in community, and the intention of a discussion post is to create communal spaces. But that's not all. There are more reasons or benefits to investing in every discussion post that you're assigned. As co-learners, your peers have valuable insight to share and help you benefit from the material that you read in class. Also, writing discussion posts allows you the chance to internalize and personalize content instead of simply consuming it. So now that we're charged with the benefits of writing a strong discussion post, let's examine the webinar's first learning objective, learning the ABCs of a good discussion post. A couple of basic strategies for writing a strong discussion post will help get started. For example, follow discussion post instructions, such as minimum word count. Also, refer to the readings and resources and use in-text citations to do this. So let's go a little further, though. To build on these strategies, consider steps provided by A, B, and C. A, assess beyond agreement and disagreement. So really dig in. Don't just say, I agree or I don't agree with this author's claim. So give some an assessment of that idea. B, bring up a specific idea from readings. This is where you would be using the in-text citations, for example. So if you bring up a specific idea and you want to explore it, also include an in-text citation. That's a great opportunity to do so. And C, connect concepts to other readings or to your own personal experience. On a practical level, relying on sentence stems can also assist with writing a strong discussion post. So let's return to our ABC approach. So to assess beyond agreement or disagreement, consider the first sentence stem on the slide. While I agree with, or I agree that about something you've read, you could go that next step and assess by saying, I wonder about. B, to bring up a specific idea from the readings, consider this sentence stem. An interesting concept from the readings was, and then just continue the sentence. And again, remember, this could be a good opportunity for an in-text citation. And C, connect concepts to other readings or to your experience. As you see with this last sentence stem, this idea relates to fill in the blank or in my experience. And again, this would be a great spot to bring up your own personal experience in a discussion post. Now let's move on to the second learning objective for the webinar. Consider what inspires, encourages, and empowers someone to respond. Here's where we continue with the ABC method by incorporating directives from the assignment, specifically affirm, broaden, and challenge. So affirm something your peer said, for instance, when you're responding to your peer, which is usually the second part of a discussion post assignment. Broaden the thought posted by your peer and reference the week's material. So broaden would be just expanding on a point from a peer. And again, this could be an opportunity for an in-text citation when you reference material from the course. And C, challenge. Challenge something in the post from your peer with a question that provokes further reflection. So you may be expanding on a point when you broaden, but then you can also ask a question. That's another option when you fulfilled the C aspect of challenge. Now I'll turn it over to Julie for the third learning objective.
Awesome. Thanks, Christy, for walking us through those really helpful mnemonic devices to remember ways to engage in a discussion post. So, we're going to take a few minutes to apply these principles to an example. And the example we're using is from a pastoral ministry course, BCMO 311. It is for week 4, discussion question 1. So if you're in that class, great. If not, and you happen to be watching this taking another course, work to apply these principles using your own upcoming discussion post assignments. So for this particular assignment, we have our instructions, which we've condensed into this slide. Um, and you want to pay close attention to whatever your discussion post instructions say to do. So in this case, we have these instructions. Referencing Willimon, chapter 3, that's one of the readings for this week. Answer the following questions. Why should Christians be in a faith community? How does the idea of pastor as priest facilitate and nurture the body in the community? So these are specific questions that relate to the reading. Then, using Barton's book, answer what is difficult about being in a faith community? What might be traumatic? What might people need healing? Or why might people need healing? Citing Barton's book, include page numbers at least once, so that's a very specific instruction that we'll need to pay attention to for this assignment. And then referencing your own experience as well, what should you add, if anything? And that's optional. So there might be more aspects to your discussion post instructions, but maybe going through with a highlighter or bullet points like this is a really helpful way to keep track of everything that you're going to be graded on for your assignment. So let's work towards applying the strategies that Christy walked us through. So first, we're going to always keep in mind the basics to follow the discussion post instructions. In this case, that means referencing the readings and resources provided using in-text citations. So we'll give an example of that. The first part of any discussion post is the initial post. So when we're writing that first post in response to our assignment instructions, the first A we're paying attention to is assess beyond agreement or disagreement. So what could that look like? Well, if we were answering that very first question in this discussion post, why should Christians, I think I have a typo here, why should Christians be in a faith community is what it should say. Here is one sentence starter. Christians should be in a faith community because, and fill in the blank with one of the major arguments or reasons provided in Willimon. And you can see here's an example in text citation. We've got in parentheses Willimon, that's the last name, 2016, that's the year, and the page number. That is an in-text citation in APA format, and we do recommend doing that for even discussion posts. Usually you don't have to have a full references page. This isn't a formal essay, but having in-text citations is a really smart strategy for referring to your course readings and resources. Okay, so we've answered the first part. Christians should be in a faith community because, with an in-text citation, but going beyond, we're going to assess beyond just simply agreement or disagreement. While I agree with Willimon, I wonder if, so here's that sentence stem Christy gave us, and it's a really helpful place to start. I agree with this idea, but we're not going to stop there. We can say, I wonder if this is always true at different points in a Christian's journey. Or I'm curious about the early part of a Christian's journey. What happens if dot, 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 right? And we can take that a little further and assess beyond agreeing or simply disagreeing. Okay, let's take this strategy further. We've got the basics. And then letter B, bring up a specific idea from the readings. So, following the instructions, the next question was, how does the idea of pastor as priest facilitate and nurture the body in the community? According to Willimon, 2016, page number, the idea of pastor as priest facilitates and nurtures the body in the community by fill in the blank. We got that idea straight from the reading. And this particular assignment asks us to use page numbers in every in-text citation. That's a specific guideline to this course, and it is really a house rule. In APA, if you are just citing an idea that you're putting into your own words, a typical APA in-text citation will have two components, the author and the year. If you quote that source, then we include the third component, the page number. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If there are ever specific guidelines in your instructions, always follow those as well. Now, bringing up a specific idea from the readings, we can say, this is interesting because, or this caught my attention because, fill in the blank, right? So we're answering the questions, but then we're going a step further to make our initial post an effective and strong post. Okay, one more example for our initial post. C, connect concepts to other readings or to your experience. So using this next question as an example, using Barton's book, answer what is difficult about being in a faith community. Barton, 2018, stated that being in a faith community is difficult in part because fill in the blank, an idea straight from Barton. In my experience, this is true. For example, I once had an interchange that challenged me, or for example, I fill in the blank with a story from your own experience. And that is encouraged in this post and in many discussion posts. Personal experience is encouraged as a way to apply the concepts that you're reading about to your own life. Again, that's an opportunity to really internalize and personalize the course material rather than just simply reading or listening to the resources. Okay, so that's the initial post. For every discussion post, there's usually a second part where you are tasked to respond to at least one of your peers. So in this course, they gave us a really helpful ABC method for your discussion post response to a peer. The ABC method they use is affirm something your peer said, broaden the thought posted by your peer referencing this week's material, and challenge something in the post with a question that provokes further reflection. So we've given you some more sentence stems as examples. So A, affirm something your peer said. You might write, your experience is such a good example of this idea. And you can, of course, add more details, but this is a good basic idea of how you might affirm something someone in your class has said. Broaden the thought posted. And again, I have another, I'm catching all my mistakes now, but we all need to edit our work. Broaden the thought posted by your peer and reference this week's material. An example of doing that might look like this. Your story also relates to Barton's 2018 argument that, fill in the blank. So make another connection to the week's materials in conversation with what your has posted. And challenge something in the post with a question that provokes further reflection. So challenge doesn't always have to mean you disagree with or you're critiquing the idea, although that's totally an option. But if you are a little hesitant or feel hesitant for any reason, you can always ask another question or probe further to get them engaged to potentially reflect or even respond to your response. And an example might be, were you able to come up with a solution? Perhaps they brought up a conflict or an issue, and you could offer a potential solution, like maybe you could try fill in the blank. Okay, so you're engaging with the peers, and I think that this makes the most of the discussion post response to really inspire someone else to engage with you and really, again, make the most of the discussion post format. All right, so that's all we've got for you today. We've talked about the ABCs of a good discussion post, both the initial post and the response. The second thing we considered was what inspires, encourages, and empowers someone to respond following that, again, ABC approach. And then we walked through an example of applying these principles to a discussion post from a particular pastoral ministry course and offered sentence stems for application to any discussion post you might be working on. I want to take a moment to say if you are working on a discussion post and find any of these concepts challenging or you want to continue to grow in your discussion posts, make a Writing Center appointment. You're welcome to work with a Writing Center tutor, not only on formal essays, but also on discussion posts. So you can always check us out in my ACU at the Online Writing Center group. Watch our video tutorial for how to make that appointment and submit what you're working on. And we'll work with you at any stage of your writing. So if you already have a draft and you'd like some written feedback, you might schedule an email asynchronous appointment where you'll upload your draft and your tutor will send you feedback via email within 24 hours of your appointment. Another option is to schedule a Zoom appointment, and this might be a really good option if you're just getting started and need some guidance or want to talk through and brainstorm with a tutor how you might approach your discussion post or your assignment. So check out many of our other writing related resources on our website, including webinar recordings. We also have a new form for you to give us feedback on our webinars. So feel free to schedule a Writing Center appointment, and if you do, you'll follow these two steps. First, schedule the appointment in WC Online, and you'll get an email confirmation when you schedule successfully. And then anytime before your appointment, upload what you're working on to your appointment form. And thanks to Christy for adding a couple of call outs. We have two webinars that are dedicated to different assignments in this same BCMO course that we worked on today. One we've already covered this term and it's available for you to watch now. This is scriptural citations and subjective analysis. So you can watch that recording and check out the slide deck. Upcoming later this month, we have principles of oral presentation. So again, we'll use examples from BCMO 311, but all are welcome to attend. We have several resources we like to plug for all students. APA course paper template is a wonderful resource to format your papers in APA. Check out our Writing Center YouTube channel and our blog where we post some interesting blog posts regularly for you to consider. If you have follow-up questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our shared email address is onlinewritingcenter@acu.edu. Again, you can schedule an appointment with us, access the resources we have on our website, and please fill out our feedback form if you'd like to make suggestions for future webinars. I hope this has been a helpful webinar on the ABCs of discussion posts, and we look forward to working with you soon in the Online Writing Center. Thank you so much, Christy.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you everyone for listening.